When I heard she was receiving this award, frankly, I thought there was no one more deserving. No one more deserving. The pandemic hit and the courts had to, close very, very, very quickly. And Joyce and Judge Desatel together rallied the presiding judges to meet by Zoom often during those times because they were unprecedented. There was a level of trust that was developed during that time among the presiding judges, in my opinion, that allowed us to not only share our experiences, which at times were quite unnerving, if not downright, baffling or fear-inducing. Joyce made sure that our level of communication was sufficient to allow people to ask questions, get help, get practical advice, get reassurance, and keep going.
Joyce was masterful in terms of bringing people's comments together, finding the commonality between seemingly disparate suggestions and remarks, and really lowering the tension level so that we could all focus on moving forward in a positive way.
The chief set a tone of confidence and resilience and hopefulness herself. And that tone was carried through other branch leaders, such as Joyce. Joyce took that tone and, ran to the end zone. The way the branch reacted and the way I think we supported each other throughout the state allowed us to not only survive, but thrive and emerge far better off, far stronger, far more resilient, and facing forward.
When we all signed on to this job, we know why we do it. We do it for the betterment of the court. We do it for the betterment of the state. We do it because we want to serve the people of California. Joyce absolutely demonstrates that commitment and dedication. She does it kindly and patiently and nicely, which is a personality that some might have thought would have been challenged in the frenzied, tumultuous, antagonistic, contentious, unexpected dynamic that COVID brought us.
Remember that to be a good leader, you have to have a combination of courage and empathy. And in this instance, in a very fast-paced environment, without a lot of, prior experience. She was definitely the right leader for the right moment.
To present the award to Judge Hinrichs, please welcome to the stage a dear friend of mine and a former PJ of Alameda County, Judge Tara Desatel.
Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure and honor to be here to introduce the Honorable Joyce Hinrichs for her 2022 Distinguished Service Award. With the time allotted, I'm not going to talk about her distinguished legal career prior to her time on the bench. I'm not going to talk to you about her dozen years serving as a commissioner in Humboldt County prior to her election to Superior Court in 2009. I'm not going to talk to you about the 14 years she served as a Superior Court judge since then, which included 3 terms as presiding judge of the Juvenile Division and, count this, 7 years as presiding judge, not the 2 years that the rest of us mere mortals serve. And of course, in that time, I can't talk to you about the dozens of committees and community service efforts that Judge Hinrichs has engaged in Humboldt County with the Judicial Council and throughout the state of California. Now, when you have time later, I might suggest when you have your cell phone reception, you open up your YouTube app and do a search for Judge Hinrichs and her TED Talk, which she also gave recommending innovative solutions that might modify our California public school system to increase the likelihood that our kids stay in school instead of finding their way to the juvenile justice system. Not talking about all of that. I'm just going to focus on the TCP Jack piece and the COVID piece that brings us here today, because it was amidst that 7-year term serving as presiding judge that COVID happened. It was March of 2020 when most of the people in this room were together for the first and the last time of that PJ-SEAC cycle. When we came home from that March Justice meeting, state of emergency was declared, shelter-in-place orders were made, emergency orders were implemented. The courts shut down. And within days, the courts reopened. And at the center of all of it was Judge Hinrichs, serving as the chair of TCPJAC, bringing all of her years of experience to that job. And in that tumultuous time period, the unforeseen period that necessitated and required the change that stays with us today, that most of us will never again, we hope, experience in our lifetimes, Joyce was the eye in the calm of the storm. She is the one who fielded the dozens and dozens and hundreds of email communications on our PJ CEO listserv. She is the one that organized dozens and dozens of conference calls, Zoom calls, Teams calls, Blue Jeans calls, coordinating with the Chief Justice and Martin Hashino and Millicent Tidwell and all members of the Judicial Council, while also coordinating with me and Nancy Eberhardt and Kevin Harrigan and all of the representatives of the 58 different superior courts in our state to bring us all together. And when things were hot and when they were contentious, she kept us all focused on the ultimate goal: maintaining our courts, ensuring that every Californian had access to our judicial system in these crazy times that none of us would have foreseen. And at the end of those meetings, and in particular those most contentious ones, Joyce didn't just end the meeting with a thank you, appreciate your work, and a goodbye. She brought a little special something. She would bring a joke, a riddle, a phrase from a song, a trivia question. So as antagonistic or confusing as some of those meetings were, we all left with a smile on our face, feeling proud of the work that we were doing and proud of the people that we were doing it with. And it's that sense of humanity, compassion, humility, and commitment that makes Joyce so deserving of this year's Distinguished Service Award. So with that, it is my great joy to introduce Judge Joyce Hinrichs and give her award.
And I need these because the bifocal contacts don't work anymore. So Chief, Judicial Council members, distinguished guests and friends, first I want to acknowledge all my fellow honorees. I'm grateful and humbled to be associated with each of these amazing women. I want to thank the Chief and the Judicial Council for recognizing me, and I want to thank Judge DSA Tells for those kind remarks. Trial court judges, especially from smaller courts, don't expect to really be recognized. We go to work every day with a plan that always seems to change. What we thought was going to happen often doesn't, because new emergencies come up and we have to be able to roll with the punches. We make every effort to treat folks in a fair and just way, knowing that at least 50% of the folks who come before us will be disappointed with us when we leave, and we're going to see them at the grocery store later on that day. But when I was selected as the chair of the Trial Court Presiding Judges Advisory Committee and the COVID pandemic hit, I did that same thing. I rolled up my sleeves, I worked with others to meet the moment, to keep courthouses available to serve the public in creative and innovative ways. But I was one of many, and it was my honor to lead. The presiding judges of our 58 independent courts are really heroes in the matter as well. We knew we had to get those courts opened. We knew we had publics to serve, and each one of them did amazing things. We're all different, and we had to adjust in different ways, but they were all amazing, and I do And I'm going to say to Nancy Everhart, I never like her to speak before me because she steals the best lines, but I am accepting this in honor of all of those presiding judges that work so hard. Judge DeSotel is my co-chair, and I want to thank her for her work that she did. And in fact, she was the gracious, somewhat loser of that decision of the chief to have us all stay in our place for one more year, because she didn't get to serve as the chair of the presiding judges committee. And so she served 2 years as the vice chair, and I was really happy to have her with me. I want to also thank Nancy Everhart. She was the counterpart at the advisory committee for court executives, and also to Kevin Harrigan. I want to thank my CEO, Kim Bartleson, and the judges at Humboldt County Bench as well, and our employees. They really had my back while I was working on these issues. We're a small court, and if I'm not doing all of my things, someone else has to be doing my things, and they were willing to have me do that. They saw the work that I was doing as important, and they supported me in all those things. I want to thank Martin Hoshino and his team, Rob O'Young, John Warlaw, and Shelley Curran. They made sure the perspectives of the trial courts were part of all the decisions being made at the state level. And no, I did not forget Millicent. Millicent Tidwell and her amazing team made the work extremely special. I want to acknowledge them. Without them, the work of those committees could not happen at all. And I don't want to forget anyone, but Corey, Laura, Amber, Jonathan, Nicole, Donna, John, and David. They made all the hard work an absolutely wonderful experience. And finally, I do want to also acknowledge my family, my parents. They never told me that I couldn't do something. And so it sort of, I'd try and I'd fail, and I'd try and fail, and they just say, get up again. And so that was sort of what the pandemic meant. You just got up again, and you decided what the chaos for that day was going to be. My brothers, who are older, made me a bit feisty, certainly knocked me down a bunch, and made me very humble in those things. I have a supportive family with my husband's family. Some are here today. It does take a village, and I have one. My husband, Steve, has been a partner in all that I've accomplished. And my daughters, and now their families, are the reason why I breathe. Still, after almost 25 years of serving the judicial branch, I get up each day and try to make it better, better for the state, better for my community. It's been my honor to serve, and I'm really humbled by the award today. Thank you very much.